All right, so this is section 3.7, transforming formulas. Okay, what this means, it says, today we're working on formulas, and we're trying to solve for a given variable. What they're giving us here is a formula, and they're saying, solve for t. So if you look at the directions, it says, solve the formula for the variable indicated. How do I know I'm solving for t? Because it has a semicolon, and then it has the t. In your book, they might say for t. Solve for t. Okay, but here they're doing it with a semicolon. So that means the formula is r times t equals d. Now, what does that mean, r times t equals d? Does anybody know what formula this stands for? Piper.
Rate times time equals distance.
Thank you. Rate times time equals distance. And what variable am I solving for here? David. No, there's a silent conversation that they're having. Rogelio. We're solving for the time because this semicolon, right here, David, the semicolon t means solve for t. Whatever you see past the semicolon is what you're solving for. That means you have to get that alone. You have to isolate that variable. So what would I need to do to isolate that t in the equation? Peyton.
Divide both sides of the equation by the rate.
Good. Divide both sides of the equation by the rate. So I'm going to divide both sides. Whoops, that wasn't supposed to happen. I'm dividing both sides by rate. And what happens now? Sargis.
T equals D over R.
But what? I'm missing one step here. Why is it t? What's the step before that? David.
Since you cancel out the R's.
Thank you. I'm going to cancel out the R, and then I am left with, and I want to see that. I want to see the slash through it. I don't want to see it scribbled out, but I want to see a slash through it. T is equal to D over R. Okay, so that means the time is equal to the distance divided by the rate. You need to write all these formulas down. Sitting listening is not appropriate for math, okay? Writing all the formulas. Now, this is the formula they use from the back of the car when you're screaming at your mom on the way to San Diego. Mom, how long till we get there? They're doing this in their head. They're used to calculating this. If I'm going 60 miles an hour and I've traveled 60 miles and the total is 120 miles, I know that I have 1 hour left. Okay? So all I need is two of those three things and I can solve for the third. All right, so that was rate, time, and distance. Okay, the next one. Does anybody know what formula this is? You use it in science a lot. Yes. You'll use it this year. And car insurance companies use this. Yes. Physics, but what's the formula for specifically? It relates three things together. What do you think the F stands for? What do you think the M and the A? Yes.
The M stands for mass.
Yep. Yep.
No.
And yes?
A stands for atoms.
No, not atoms. It's acceleration, actually. So acceleration times mass equals, yes, force. So that's where you're going to see the impact of a car hitting something is the weight or the mass of the object times the multiplied by the acceleration will give you the amount of force that is exerted on the object it's hitting. So what are we solving for this time, David?
We're solving for A.
For A. So what would I need to do to solve for A? Ben?
You would need to m times
So what does that mean, over?
Over A.
What does over mean?
Divided by.
Divide. So I'm going to divide what by A?
M times A divided by A.
And?
And F divided by A.
Good. Both sides of the equation are being divided by A. Both sides of the equation. I want to hear that out of your mouth. Because,
M.
sorry, by M, sorry. M. I want to hear that. Because we are solving for A. So we leave A there. We're solving for A. So A is going to stay there. So what do I want to get rid of? The M. So I divide by M on both sides. I just want to hear your inverse operations and your properties of equality being done. Both sides are divided by M. So my M's cancel out, and what's left? My M's cancel out. What's left? Cedric.
F equals A over M. I mean, no. F equals A.
No.
No.
What? Wait, hold on. Look up here, Cedric.
Wait.
Look up here. What can I cancel out?
M over M.
Good. And so what's left?
F times.
No, F.
Wait, F equals A over M.
You're skipping something. I see M over M was canceled out. You're not reading the entire left side. F. What do I write down? What's left that hasn't been crossed out?
The M lower.
F.
F over M
F over M. F divided by M
equals A.
equals A. Do you understand? Okay. Okay, now, originally, F was given to us in terms of M and A. What they want is A given in terms of F and M. And so how I do that is then I just switch it around. A is now given in terms of F and M. This is just the way they may phrase things. David.
And is this only like the easiest of the easiest?
Let's keep going. Yes, Chloe, Rosie.
The semicolon, I didn't understand what does that.
That means solve for. Solve for A. Solve for A. In your book, they're just going to say for A. That means you're solving for A. Here, we're using the semicolon. Okay, moving on.
Can you do my test here?
Quickly, yeah. I don't know if I have room. I don't have room. Sorry. All right. So now A is given in terms of. Okay, now, what am I solving for, Rosie?
You're solving for
H. So what do I need to do to get H alone? Now, this kind of has to do with what we did on Tuesday. It was Wednesday. Wednesday's homework, clearing fractions. What would I need to do first? Michael.
You would need to multiply 1 over 2 on both sides of the equation.
Not 1 over 2. You're very close.
1 over 2b?
Yes, Rogelio.
Just b?
No, how do let's clear that fraction.
No.
Sarah Simpson.
multiply it by 2.
Multiply by 2 over 1, both sides of the equation. Now, I'm not writing the 1, but the 1 is there. I'm getting lazy with it. Okay? Now, look what happens. Over here, I can cross-cancel my 2's. And what's left now? Cedric, what's left once I cross-cancel? Start from the left to the right. Now that I've cross-canceled in that line that I...
1 and 1.
No, start from the left. What's left?
There's only 2A on the left.
2A on the left equals...
Equals,
What's left?
1 over 1.
Right. Do I need to write 1 over 1?
No.
But what else is left?
1 B times A.
B times H. And I can avoid that 1 because we get lazy with our 1's in math. So since that's 1 over 1, I really can just ignore those ones since they're being multiplied. If it was added, I would have to write it. Now what would I need to do to get the h by itself, Michael?
You divide by 2 on both sides. Oh, dang it.
Michael, look. I have to get the h by itself.
Oh, the h.
Look, how do I know that? Because it's right here.
Divide by h. Oh.
That doesn't give, okay, I'm going to divide by h.
I don't know.
Is the h alone?
Yes.
No.
I meant no. I meant divide by b.
Okay, so what am I doing?
Divide by b on both sides.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to divide. I was left with BH. So now I'm going to divide by B on both sides. And what's left now, Michael?
H equals.
Start from left to right.
Oh, I meant 2a over b equals h.
Equals H. And then to show it in terms of H, I would write H equals 2a over
B.
B. Now, it's very important that if they give you a capital letter, you got to keep it capitalized. Because they mean something. Okay? So, meaning like little b and big B. Little b is the base of a triangle. Just one line in a triangle. Big B stands for base area. So, in this cylinder here, this cylinder, it's a three-dimensional object. The base is made up of what shape?
Circle.
So the circle's area. Big B stands for the area of the circle, of this base. Do you understand? Big B means something different than little b. All right, is everybody clear on this? Yes, Ben.
Wait, so then is that the same thing as like a big A?
Big A, little a may stand for different things. Big P, little p stand for different things. Okay? So you want to, little t means time and big T usually means total. So do you understand? If they give you something with a capital letter, you want to keep it that way. And if they give you with a small letter, you got to keep that. Another person said to me also, they said to me, why are we not multiplying everything? Why didn't I multiply the H? I mean, I see I multiplied the... Why aren't I multiplying everything by 2 over 1? Now, if I have a... Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Here's my formula. A equals 1/2 base times height, right? I'm not also multiplying the H because this is one term. 1/2 base times height is one term. So now I can cross cancel it. And then when I go here, I end up with 2a equals base times height. But if I had something like this, what's different about this equation than the blue equation? David?
There's, on the right side, there's 2 different terms. There's half b and just
What tells us there's 2 different terms?
the addition sign.
Right. Because there's an addition sign, the 2 has to be distributed to both of them. To all 3 parts. Does that make sense? Do you guys see the difference between when there's an addition sign or if it's straight multiplication? This is 2 terms, and this one has 1 term. Here, I should say this one right here is 2 terms. Okay? All right, so did we finish that one up? Okay. All right.
Oh yeah.
So now what am I solving for, Jason? H. I'm solving for H. Step 1, what do I want to clear first? Michelle.
You multiply both sides by 3 over 1.
Right, you want to get rid of the fraction. We want to clear the fraction, so we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 3. Now my suggestion is you just put it in one big parenthesis. Because if there's more than one term, that will be covered. And so now we're doing this, and then we're doing this. On this side, my 3 gets canceled out, and what's left on the right side of the equation?
Pi r squared.
Pi r squared. What about h? And on the other side, what am I left with? 3v. And what is this? Does anybody know what this formula is?
I
Yes.
think V stands for velocity.
Nope. This is volume. Volume of what kind of shape? Okay, let me tell you what has pi r squared in it. A cylinder, but this is 1/3 of a cylinder, which would be a cone. A cone is 1/3 of a cylinder. But you can see right here, there's the base, it's a circle, and 1/3 of a cylinder, so it's the volume of a cylinder. All right, so we cross-canceled and we're left with this. Now, I can spend more time or less time doing this. But here's one where I can get rid of 2 steps at once. What else do I need to get rid of, Paul, in trying to solve for H down here? Oscar? Oh, wait, what'd you say? Well, the thing is, I'm just right here on the right side of the formula, and there's no 3 there. We're here. We're at this step. Oscar?
Divide by pi r squared.
You got it, Oscar. You got it. Okay. So the next one is, I've got pi, I've got r squared and h. Since there's straight multiplication, I can get rid of 2 things at once. Divide by pi and also divide by r squared. What I do to one side, divide by pi and divide by r squared. And now you can see my pi's cancel out, my r squareds cancel out. What's left on the right side of the equation? H is equal to 3v over pi r squared. Now we can turn it over. H equals 3v over pi r squared. So what this is saying, this formula, is the height of a cone is equal to 3 times the volume divided by pi times the radius squared.
That's hard.
Okay, questions? Okay, moving on. Now, do you understand how I did 2 steps at once? Could I have just divided everything by pi and then just done a second step, divide everything by r squared? But it takes longer. And I like laziness, that's why I'm a math person. All right, who knows this formula? David.
Isn't it the formula with Fahrenheit and Celsius?
Yep. Yep, and this is just like a 2-step equation. So if I had a 2-step equation that looked like this, 100 equals 9, forget the fractions there, but just let's say I had 9 C plus 32. What would we do first?
Subtract them.
Right, we're going to undo our subtracting and adding first. So what do I do first on the formula to get C alone? Kiana?
You subtract 32 on both sides.
We're going to subtract 32 on both sides. Okay? So we're subtracting 32 on both sides. And then what I have is F minus 32 equals 9/5 C. Now, how do I get rid of that fraction? Because I got to get my C. Rogelio.
Divide by, multiply by 5 ninths.
By 5 what? Perfect. I'm going to multiply everything by 5/9. Now, I can just do it like that. Over here, we're canceling out what's left. C. But over here, look what I'm going to do, guys. 5/9 times F minus 32. I can just leave it like that. I don't have to do anything more as long as I get the C alone. Only thing I didn't do was this. I just wrote it differently. I don't need to multiply it out because my C is alone. Yes, Michael, question? Okay, yes.
Would it be wrong if you didn't have F minus 32 in the parentheses?
Yes, because if it's just, unless you multiply it out. You could, by rights, do 5/9 F, because 5/9 has to get multiplied by all terms. Because when I'm multiplying this over here, I'm multiplying it by this term, and by this term. All terms. So you either have to multiply it out or leave it in that parentheses. I could do 5/9 F minus, I think it's 160 over 9 once I multiply it in. But why do that? It's extra math. I don't have to. Right? So, and then I just flip it around. Okay, now, what would I need to do to solve for the R? Step 1. It's very similar to the last one. What do you think I do first? Sargis,
Divided by.
what did I do first last time?
Subtracted.
I undid my adding and subtracting. So what do I do this time?
Subtract P.
Big P, subtract big P. Okay? And now I'm left with T minus P is equal to PRT. This is a principal rate and time formula. Now, what do I need to do to get the R alone? Oscar?
You divide PT.
Both sides by PT. And I'm done.
That's cool.
Are PRT like combined together?
Right, PRT is principal times rate times time. So what I'm doing is I'm dividing out. When it's multiplication, you can just do, it's like pi r squared. Right?
Yeah.
It was, what was it, pi r squared height. They're all together, but because it's straight multiplication, I can divide both. Okay? Can I move on? Peyton?
How come
Don't do any cross canceling. Because you haven't learned that yet. What you can and can't, and what is a term and what isn't. Okay? This is like a unit, and you can't just get rid of a piece of that t minus p. So don't do any cross canceling. Just get your variable alone and stop. Okay? The more cross canceling you do, at this point, the more likely you will get yourself in trouble. Second semester, we'll be simplifying. All right, this is trickier. Now you got to get the big P alone. But big P is in both terms. So this is different. Make sure you're writing this, Michael. The big P, this is different than what you've done. Remember we learned how to factor? We learned how to basically factor. So what letter do both terms have in common? Sargis?
T.
There's no little t in any other term. Big P. So I'm going to factor that out. I pull it out. P divided by P is what? 1. And PRT divided by a P is what? Plus RT equals T. Shh. So I just factored out the common factor of P. I divided a P out of the first term and a P out of here. What's left here is a 1, and what's left here is the RT when I divide it out. Now, what do I want to get alone? The P. So look what I'm going to do. I'm going to divide by 1 plus RT. Divide by 1 plus RT. And so what I have is T over 1 plus RT equals P. Tell me you've written this down. Because I got a couple more to do with you. Can I move on?
Yes.
Hurry up, right fast, guys. We got 2 more problems and
Put your whimpering.
all right. So what do I do first? What do you think I do first? I want to hear from somebody other than you 3 and Oscar. Okay. How about Saddam? Sadat. Sorry. What does bx plus cx, what did I do first? Here. Okay, so what do I do first here? Michael, knock it off. What do I do first here? Factor. What am I factoring out? An x. I'm going to take out an x, and so what would be left? B, the quantity of B plus C. No, if I take the x out, I have to take it out of both. I divide it out of both. And now what do I do to get the x alone? Divide both sides by B plus C. And then I have it. Okay, one more problem. To write it in terms of x equals big A over the quantity of B plus C. All right, now I have something in my denominator, and I need to get that alone. When it's in the denominator, the first thing you're going to do is bring it to the numerator. How do I do that? I have to clear the fraction, get rid of the fraction nonsense. So, to get rid of the fraction, what do you think I have to do? Yes.
You must multiply them
By,
1.
not 1, but yes.
X plus Y.
X plus y over 1, the reciprocal of the fraction. Okay? Now, what happens is they cancel out, and now it's out of the denominator. Now, what do I need to do? Now, I do this different than my PowerPoint. What do I need? Well, let's do it the way my PowerPoint does it. Okay, now they're distributing. Okay, distribute. It becomes AX plus AY. Now what are we going to do? Subtract. Yes.
Subtract the AY.
Subtract the AY from both sides. And then I'm left with that AX, so I'm going to divide it out by A. And X equals 1 minus AY over A. Now, if I think I might have, this might set you up to do it better. Because I think if I were here, I would have probably divided by A, divide by A, and then I get X plus Y equals 1 over A, subtract Y, subtract Y. I probably would have done that. What you don't know is you could have done it that way. This means the same thing because A is the denominator here and A is the denominator here, and the A's would have canceled out. You would have ended up, but you don't know how to simplify those kinds of things yet, so maybe doing it the PowerPoint way is easier because the simplifying might mess you up. So, do you guys understand the way that the PowerPoint did it? Okay, I'm going to put this online probably at like 6 o'clock tonight. Are there any questions? All right, so that is the lesson 3-7 page. Tonight's homework is page 143, 1 through 24.